We see the headlines about massive lawsuits and market monopolies, but we rarely see the actual mechanics of how they're being fought. This is EconWorks. We look past the talking points to find where law, economics, and markets actually collide. Let's get into it.
All right, today we're stepping into the high-stakes world of antitrust law, where you see these huge tech giants go head-to-head. But this time, there's a fascinating new player in the game: artificial intelligence.
And that brings us to the big question we're tackling. I mean, seriously, can an AI actually step into the shoes of a legal analyst? Can it really break down and critique an expert's complex argument in a massive court case? Well, we're about to find out.
And the arena for our little experiment? Oh, it's only one of the biggest tech showdowns we've seen in years. The massive legal brawl between Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite, and the tech behemoth itself, Apple. So just to get you up to speed, this whole thing really kicked off back in August 2020. That's when Epic Games dropped a lawsuit on Apple, and boom, it set off this multi-year legal war that really questioned the entire foundation of how the app economy works. So what was the fight really about? Well, it pretty much boils down to two main things. First, that infamous 30% commission that Apple takes from in-app purchases. And second, the rule that says if you want to get your app on an iPhone, you have to go through their app store, no exceptions. Epic said, no way, that's anti-competitive. Now here's what makes this so fascinating. The entire case, I'm talking billions of dollars hanging in the balance, all came down to how you answer one single question. And that question is, what exactly is the market? In antitrust law, that word is everything. It defines the entire battlefield. Are we talking about a market for just iPhone apps, or is it for all mobile apps, including Android? Or maybe it's even bigger. How you answer that? Well, that pretty much decides who wins.
And you can see the two totally different viewpoints right here. Epic's team argued for this very narrow market, just iOS apps. And in that little pond, yeah, Apple looks like a monopoly. But then Apple's lawyers came back and said, whoa, hold on. The market is way broader. It includes Android, gaming consoles, the whole shebang. And in that world, they say they've got tons of competition.
Okay, so this is where our story takes a really interesting twist. An experiment was done to see if an AI, basically acting as an economist, could comb through the evidence and find the weak spots in the arguments. And the result? Honestly, it could change how this kind of high-stakes legal work gets done. The setup was surprisingly simple. They fed the AI the expert witness report from Epic's side and gave it one very clear command: critique the economic reasoning. That's it. No hints, no extra data, just pure cold analysis. So before we get to the results, what was the AI actually looking for? It was programmed to zero in on 5 crucial pieces of the puzzle: defining the market, this idea of whether consumers are locked in, if there's real evidence of harm, and all those restrictions Apple puts on developers.
And here's just a little taste of what the AI came up with. It basically said that Epic's definition of the market was too narrow. It reasoned that any proper analysis has to consider competition from other platforms, like Android. Now think about that. This isn't just spitting back facts, it's applying a core legal principle.
So the AI has spoken. But how does its analysis really compare to the real deal? All right, let's get to the main event, the actual court's ruling. How did this all play out? And in a really sharp move, the judge actually rejected both arguments. She didn't go with Epic's narrow view or Apple's super broad one. Instead, she found a middle ground, defining the market as digital mobile gaming transactions. And by doing that, she's basically agreeing with the AI's core idea. You have to look beyond just the iPhone.
And here it is, the scorecard. What is just so incredible here is how closely the AI's thinking lined up with the judge's final decision. On the most important point, the market definition, they were in strong alignment. And it was pretty much the same story for the other big issues too. It's kind of crazy.
So let this sink in. An AI, working on its own, identified the exact same 5 core weaknesses in the plaintiff's case that the judge herself ended up highlighting in our huge 185-page decision. That's remarkable. This isn't just a party trick, it's a real peek into a future where this kind of high-level thinking is much more accessible. So yeah, this is a whole lot more than just a cool experiment. It has some really serious implications for how we might tackle complex problems in the future. Let's zoom out a bit and talk about what this all really means. Now let's be really clear about this. The AI isn't about to replace a human judge or an expert economist. It can't go out and do new research. But what it can do, and what it proved here, is that it can be an incredibly powerful partner. Think of it like a tool that can instantly spot the conceptual weak points in a really complicated argument.
And for anyone out there thinking about trying this, the experiment basically gives us a playbook. For better results, you can use a few different AIs, give them really sharp instructions, treat it like a back-and-forth conversation, and even use some more specialized setups to get deeper insights.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big thought. No, AI isn't going to replace human experts tomorrow. But this experiment proves it can be a shockingly good analytical partner. So maybe the question isn't if AI can do this kind of thinking anymore, but how we're going to use it to make all of us just a little bit smarter.
Thanks for watching. For the deep dive economic analysis behind these stories, join us at econworks.com. Subscribe to stay informed on where law and economics meet the market. We'll see you in the next episode.